What is going on, Reds? Welcome to the Sunday Summary. I'm your host, Kyle, and with me today are two very special people. We got Steve, we got Doug, and guys, we got a lot to get into today. Liverpool played Wolves yesterday, another loss, and it seems as if the downward spiral is continuing. We can look at it in a few different ways. We can look at, is it Klopp's seventh season? Is it personnel? Is it ownership? Is it injuries? There's so much to look at, and we're going to get it all into it today. Good morning to everyone in the chat. Good afternoon, wherever you're at. Steve, good morning. Doug, how are you guys? We'll start with Steve. Steve, what are your feelings about yesterday? Thoughts, reactions? Hit me.
I mean, I feel pretty much the same as I have felt for, a series of a couple months at this point.
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, I think we all do, that it can't get any worse, right? It's going to turn around at some point. But yesterday was a new low. It keeps getting worse. So my optimism is virtually gone at this point. So to answer your question, I'm good, but we're in shambles. Like people online saying we're finished, like they might be right. We're in really bad shape, and we'll get into all of that stuff today, the specifics of it. But we hit a new low yesterday, and it's just hard to see, hard to watch.
It's very hard to watch. And Doug, thanks again for being here, man. It's good to have you back. What are you looking at recently? What are you thinking with the recent form of the squad?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I wish it was in better circumstances, but unfortunately, this will be a bit of a therapy session for all of us, I have to say. I'm not angry. I'm not annoyed. I'm just literally used to it right now. That was our third defeat in a row away from home. First time since, I think, 2012, like the Brendan Rodgers days. So it's just been... I think we kind of knew that after the exertions of last season, having played every single game, I thought there would be like a bit of a period where we could probably start slow and then probably get better towards the end. But it's been the exact opposite. I can't actually think of a game this season we played well in. Like barring the 9-0 win against Bournemouth, and that was an absolute freak show because we didn't really expect to score 9 goals that day.
Yeah, right.
And that was just one of those games where like everything went in. But just ever since then, I just can't put my foot on it at all. It's just been a disastrous season from start to finish.
Yeah, and we kind of look at everything. We kind of figure out we basically just run through the ringer. Like, what could it be? Could it be personnel? Could it be injuries? Could it be Klopp's formations? And we've seen Klopp attack it different ways. You know what I mean, guys? Like we saw at the beginning of the season, he tried playing Salah and Darwin up top with Firmino in behind, right? He's back to the 4-3-3. He doesn't really have too many options at this point. But dude, he benched Fabinho. Fabinho didn't even make the bench. Bajcetic is starting, and Bajcetic yesterday was our best player, bar none. The only player out there who looked like he had any control, any sense of calmness on the ball, an idea of what was going on. I don't know what's going on at this point, guys. I mean, Steve, I want to come back to you. I need some answers, dude. We've scored 2 goals in the last 5 Premier League matches. And I'll pull up the table here, but I made a video a while back. We've already given up more goals this season than we did all of last season. 26 in the Premier League. 26 goals last season in the Premier League. More goals given up this season already.
Yeah, well, first of all, I didn't know that Fabinho didn't make the squad or the bench yesterday.
Doug, back me up.
Now.
Did he make?
No, you're right.
Bench,
I just looked at it.
Yeah, okay. Klopp said he was ill. Apparently, he had illness.
Oh,
yeah, well. That's no way. Well, first side note, I just put the name of Doug's channel in the chat here, so go check him out. Subscribe to him if you haven't.
He forgot the O, but you guys get the idea.
Thank you.
DOUG.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right, well, let me make a change.
Steve's that's the American Steve right there coming out.
Yeah. Anyways, what was the question?
Dude, just what the hell's going on? Just your
Well,
thoughts, because guys, this is open discussion. We got Doug on, but the Sunday
Yeah.
summary is laid back, it's relaxed, just shooting the shit. But at this point, I'm just trying to look at, maybe identify what's going on, maybe try to figure out, what are you seeing? Because everyone's seeing it differently. I was on Twitter. I was telling Doug this. I was in a Twitter hole last night, just reading all comments in response to everything. And so much happened yesterday. I mean, after the match, Klopp was doing the post-match press conference. He refused to answer James Pierce's question. Refused to answer it. We all know James Pierce. He used to work for the Echo. Now he's at the Athletic. James Pierce, I don't know if it's his recent articles. I don't really keep up with everything James Pierce writes, so I'm not the best person to talk about this. But James Pierce asked a very good question, just like, how are things changing and how you prepare for games? Like, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but Klopp said to him, he was like, I find it very difficult to answer the question when you ask it. If someone else asks it, I'll answer it. Looks around, random guy asks it, and Klopp answers it. Just refused to answer James Pierce. So I was like, what the hell? So either Klopp's really pissed or something. So there's that,
Yeah,
right?
it's that.
Fabinho's not playing. There's another thing, okay?
Yeah.
You got people, the fan base is divided again. You got FSG out. You got people saying Klopp out, which is absolutely nuts to me. Now you got the 7th year, what's it called? The 7th year curse, I guess you could call it, coming out, and people are just now saying that. There's so much to look at. So, Steve, just to bring it back, man, what are you thinking? Like, what is going on?
Well, first of all, Klopp is unhappy with James Pierce based on what I'm seeing. James Pierce is brutally honest, and he's written some pieces lately. I can't remember the title of it, but you guys can probably find it online. Essentially, he has written pieces about pretty serious stuff at the club in terms of like our decline. He doesn't hold back. He's brutally honest about what he thinks is happening with the club and insider perspective and things of that nature. And he's not slandering us per se, but he's basically saying like, we're at a new low of lows and we need a total refresh, aka insinuating that it can't be turned around this season, which I actually agree with at this point. I didn't a few weeks ago, but I think we're past the point of no return. And in terms of like what's going on in general, my good friend Alexis in this chat, I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, do you think even with a new team, because of course everybody's crying for transfers and purchases, do you think with a new team that Klopp will just implement new ideas? In other words, even if we get new players, is the system going to change? Is our style of play going to change? Is the high line going to change? Things of that nature. So even if we do get new players, the entire league, he says, is walking circles around us.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if you plug in different players, if things will change. So we'll get into it today, but is Klopp, I'm not saying he needs to be sacked, but there's definitely issues with the tactics and the manager right now.
So I completely understand everything you're saying. I don't agree with it, but with certain things. But I want to get Doug in on this. Doug, what do you think specifically about what Steve said, and then also your own thoughts?
I think it's a collective of everything. I think it's been a collective of things happening behind the scenes that have obviously gone wrong, and I think it's obviously seeped onto the pitch. The 4-3-3 for me, I don't think we have the personnel to play 4-3-3 anymore. So I think we need to change it up because we don't have the midfielders to play that pressing style anymore. I think our midfield has lost their legs. The only one that looks fresh is Bacetic. And that is the very, very main concern as well that I have. The other thing I'm going to say is as well, Joe Gomez, barring Manchester City, he has been terrible. For me, he is not a centre-back now. He is a right-back cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't want him to be anywhere near left-back. We saw him play left-back when he first came here. I know he played left-back when he was at Charlton Athletic. But for me, he's now the right back cover for Trent, because I just don't think he can play centre back. Again, how many times have we said the words Joe Gomez ball watching? I think I've said it about 5 or 6, 7 times this season. And this is the thing as well. Matip's lost his legs. Fabinho's definitely lost his legs as well. And the problem is as well that when the one person I feel sorry for is Cody Gakpo, because he's came into a side that is underperforming, very low on confidence, and yet he is being sort of sounded out by some fans for not playing well. It's just been a collective of things. I think as well that I've never seen an assistant manager having so much influence behind the scenes. Pep Linders does the Carabao Cup conferences. I think he maybe does the FA Cup conferences from time to time as well. What other assistant manager does that? So there is a lot of things going wrong, but behind the scenes. But again, lack of investment, Klopp being too stubborn to sort of change it up, and players, we don't have the personnel to play 4-3-3. We need to get rid of that. And it's just players being very, very poor all season.
Great points. Great points. I want to go back to a few things Steven said. Steven, you said that you said like the Steven, what did you say? I gotta scroll up and see in the comments here. Like out of reach. You said something. I can't remember. I can't find it either. Oh, point of no return. That's what it was. We're 10 points off top 4. We're not like super far. It seems like it because we're like middle of the table, but I don't think we're past this point of no return. But what I'm concerned with is how bad it's been for the last 5-6 matches. I think I'm always optimistic we can turn it around, right? But what do we need to turn it around? Because whatever Klopp is doing right now, whatever the players are doing right now, isn't working. And then I want to go back to what Doug said. I don't think we have the personnel to play 4-3-3 anymore. I think I agree with that. I think we might need to change it up. I don't know if Klopp needs to just start playing park the bus football. Like, does Klopp need to start playing that? He's going to hate it if he does, because Klopp is the exact opposite. He's like, let's put everybody in the opposition's half and let's see if we can score. But we saw yesterday, and Klopp said it in his post-match interview, dude. Klopp said that he doesn't count the third goal because it was the first time they passed the halfway line. That's the problem we have. The first time they get past midfield on the counter, they score. And it was so easy. It was so easy for them. It's like we're non-existent from the midfield back. And then going back to what Doug said about Cody Gakpo has been non-existent. And you do feel bad for him. He came into a bad situation, but I still think at the end of the day, these guys are professionals and it's mental. I feel like 75 to 80% of this game is mental. At least that's what I think. But I want to pull up some graphics for you guys here so you guys can look. If you guys chime in if you guys have any thoughts.
A couple things I want to mention. Doug, you had talked about Pep Linders and the amount of influence or whatever he has. Yeah. There's an article that came out recently. I forget where I saw it. It was about him and also Andreas Kornmeier.
Oh, the trainer,
and conditioning. People are saying he's got a lot of pull as well, and it's caused friction internally. So I don't know too much about that side of things, but it's clear because of these different points that there's friction in the club. Anytime something goes wrong, not just with Liverpool, any professional sport or organization, business in general, anytime there's internal friction, that's going to trickle down to the production or the product you see on the pitch. Or again, anywhere on the front lines of anything. So that's definitely something that's going on. Doug, you mentioned it's a combination of everything. I also agree. Joe Gomez, absolutely abysmal.
Terrible.
Absolutely abysmal.
Dude, you saw that first goal. He's just drifting.
I think it was the worst performance of his career.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're in a position right now with injuries that I think it made sense to start him yesterday.
It
but
did.
that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't just buy 8 center backs because you might have a couple injuries. But these players, 4th, 5th, 6th on the depth chart, need to be able to put in a shift and not just give you a shift. Gomez essentially blew the game yesterday. He was the worst player on the pitch by far. So that's concerning. However, I don't even want him to be Trent's right back with cover. I think Ramsey deserves a shout before him because Trent was abysmal yesterday
Trent
as
was
well.
terrible yesterday.
It was bad.
He looks like he doesn't even want to be there.
I'm
tired of
noticed
his
that.
smug attitude.
Yeah.
He'll give you 2 world-class balls or crosses a match, and that's all he provides now. He put in a through ball to like a long ball over the top to Nunez, I think. And I was like, wow, well, that's the only thing he gives you. 1 or 2 of those a match. He's not providing anything else.
Do you think that's mental after the World Cup, after being like shunned at the World Cup? You think he's just
No, I think he just needs to be benched and reevaluate and get some rest.
You can't. There's certain players you can't bench. And that's a great point. I thought about this yesterday. I was looking at, and I'll wait to bring this graphic up because we're kind of just chatting. But I was thinking about this yesterday, dude. Klopp, there's certain players that Klopp can bench. Fabinho, for example, because you got Pacetic playing well right now. You can't bench Trent because then what are you going to do? You're going to either put Gomez over there, and then you have to, put players you don't want to necessarily start at center back, even though we might want to see them. Nat Phillips, Reece Williams, whatever the case may be, right? Or Calvin Ramsey, which Klopp, is it Calvin Ramsey?
Calvin Ramsey, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I've seen the kid play once or twice. Who might not be ready. I thought when he played in maybe it was preseason or an EFL Cup match, whenever I saw him play, I thought he looked excellent. But for some reason, he's not playing. I know he was injured for a while, but to me, there's certain players you can't drop, and Trent's got to be one of them. If you bench Trent, I think that's the beginning of the end. I think there's certain players you can't bench. It's like benching Salah. You can't bench Salah because even if you look at it from a standpoint of you're not playing well, you got to be benched to prove a point. Now you're benching your most prolific attacker, and you're struggling to win games. So what does that say? You're risking that, and what if we play even worse after that? I don't know. It's just a risk that I don't think Klopp's willing to take at this point. He can risk starting Pacetic in the midfield. I don't think he can risk changing up those positions personally.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doug.
I've got to say the thing with me before Gomez yesterday, Matip had a stinker. I think both Matip and Gomez had a stinker actually. But the one thing about Gomez is the thing that really annoyed me yesterday. There was a ball that came in. I think it was the second goal. I think it was from Sarabia. He tries to play a ball in, and what Gomez basically does, Alisson's about to come out and collect it, and instead Gomez heads it out. Yeah. Gomez heads it out. Alisson gave him a call. He basically just heads it straight to, I think it was Hwang who hit it, and then it's blocked by Gakpo, and then obviously Craig Dawson of all people to put that in the back of the net. It was just a collective of errors yesterday. But Gomez for me is just, I don't think injuries have been kind to him. He's had 2 really bad, serious ACL injuries. And I just think the injuries are sort of catching up with him.
I hope that's not the case. You're right. I just think he's just ball watching. I wouldn't call him lazy, but those are 2 crucial errors. You come out to guard the ball, and then Neves puts a ball in behind. Matip doesn't back him up because it's supposed to be Gomez, but Gomez is lollygagging, getting back. And then that ball you were talking about, Doug, he clears it into the 6-yard area. I don't get that. Even if you clear it out of bounds, you're right there. You're right on the 6-yard line. We see it every week from other teams. Even if there's bad communication between the keeper and the center back, you clear it out of bounds. And Gomez just almost like he was playing for Wolves. He flicks it into the area. It's just, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. I want to pull this graphic up so everyone can see. All right, I had it up for a while. But this is a comparison between this time last season and this time this season. And you look at just the absolute, it's not minor differences. These are huge differences. Okay. Goals conceded per match. We were less than 1 last season, and we're at 1.32 so far this season. I'm pretty sure Allison only has like 5 clean sheets, 5 or 6 clean sheets. 0.26 clean sheet, or wait, that's the season. Less clean sheets than last season. And the goals is unbelievable for me. This is mostly defensive, but last season, and we pulled up this graphic before, we were at 2.6. This season, we're at like 1.7 goals per match. And recently, it's been 0. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And Steve, this is also what you were talking about earlier. This is the article or the link I found. This was from Melissa Reddy talking about that sentiment in the training complex where someone has too much power. Do you think that they're reaching? Do you think that journalists are just reaching to find something to explain this personally? Or
Yeah, I don't think this makes much sense to me, but somebody said something. There's some bit of truth to this, but this should, in my opinion, fitness and conditioning, strength, whatever, they shouldn't have influence over like the product that comes out on the field to an extent. Now, that being said, we have way more injuries than everyone else. So if this person is playing a role in other areas of the club, maybe they should focus on recovery because that's what we need more than anything from somebody in that position.
Sure.
But this is probably somewhat of a reach, but it just shows that there's little things and they're running out of things to talk about.
yeah,
One of the things I mentioned was the point of no return. Some people in the chat here are saying like they don't think so. We do have some games in hand. We're not too far off top 4, but we're so bad that things aren't just going to change overnight.
we
can't even get a draw. We can't even get it. We're getting smoked.
Yeah. Somehow
Wolves
we drew against
had
Chelsea.
more shots on target than we did yesterday.
Yeah.
That game normally.
Here's another wee stat for you. Wolves had scored 6 home goals in the Premier League until yesterday. They've now got 9. They've scored 20% more of their goals against us than any other team in the Premier League this season.
I saw that. It's insane. And then like I'm looking at recent fixtures here. Yesterday was 58% possession to us. That's because Wolves got way up and kind of parked it a bit. Second half for us was a little bit better, a little bit more energy. We created a little bit more. But if I look at like other recent fixtures, like we don't even have 50% possession in a lot of these matches against clubs that we should have 70% against, especially in years past.
Yeah.
Like we don't even have enough of the ball. It's insane. That's why I think past the point of no return may be aggressive and a little bit dramatic, but I hope they prove me otherwise. But it doesn't look like we can just flip a switch because we're still waiting for players to come back from injury. I keep reading, couple weeks here, 3 weeks there. This person's returning to team training. Until I see him on the pitch, I don't care.
It's unbelievable how long
we need a
these
better
players
product
have been
of
out.
what we have available because there's still players that like our lineups are still better than who we're facing. So why can't we hold the ball?
I mean, it's a good point. I truly think that not having these prolific attackers. I mean, think about the players we have out. Jota, Diaz. They seem like they've been out for the entire season. And now Van Dijk's out until potentially the first leg in Madrid, or he'll miss the first leg in Madrid. We can't win, dude. We can't win. And I saw a stat the other day. We have something like 17 hamstring injuries or something.
Oh, that's mental.
It's unbelievable.
Like, this is the thing as well, which I don't get. How are these injuries happening? Is it because it is an unprecedented season where you've had the World Cup in the winter? Or is it the fact that it's just one of those long seasons and, you get injury after injury? But the problem is Diaz has been out since Arsenal. Now, that was, 27th of October? That's a long time. Jota's been out since the Manchester City game as well. And the thing is as well, like, we may want Jota, we may want Diaz to sort of come back. I don't want them rushed back. We cannot afford to rush these players back into full fitness. And okay, if they feel like they're fit and ready to play, then fine, then absolutely fine. But I think we need to be careful with Diaz. He's had another serious setback to his knee injury. I think we'll probably see him back in probably March or April time. Jota is getting closer, but again, I don't really want to rush him back. Bobby seems to be out for a while now.
Yeah.
It's just going from basically injury to a key player to an injury to a key player to another injury to a key player. It just seems to have basically been one player has come back, one player's got injured, and then another one's got injured. It's just very, very frustrating at this moment in time with the injuries part.
It always has been. It's been the story of the last 3 or 4 seasons is the injuries, dude. I want to take a quick pause, go over to the chat and say thank you to everyone who is supporting us this morning. Thank you to Liz for the super chat earlier, by the way. I did not forget. Make sure you guys smack that like button if you're enjoying the show and keep the chats coming, guys. Even if we don't comment on them, you know we're reading them. So we appreciate all the input. Our channel members in here, we got Doug, of course, on the show with us. We got Hannah, Ross, Oyvind, Liz, everyone in the chat. Tony's in here. My father was in here talking about his thoughts on the spy balloons. Yeah, it's a good take.
I saw that.
That's a good take. Teabags, Albert, Black Prince, everyone in here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I think we got 50 plus people in here right
50
now.
plus people. Shout out to everyone.
So welcome.
Yeah.
Just to close the loop on what I was saying. So the injuries are an issue, but regardless, we're a big enough club where we shouldn't be losing 3-0, 2-0, or getting outpossessed by these smaller sides.
Right.
These lesser sides. That's what they are. Let's face it. The league is tough this year. Don't get me wrong. The Brightons, Wolves seems to play tough against us. Wolves gave Man City fits for years.
Yep.
So there's quality there. But I'm looking at the Brighton match, the 2-1 match recently. Brighton, 56% possession over us. The Chelsea match, Chelsea, 53%. They're riddled with injuries too. The Brighton 3-0 win, 61% possession to Brighton.
Brighton
I feel like we're
nominated
watching
us.
the opposition play, and we're just hoping that it's not that bad for us. We're not on the front foot at all.
Nope.
No.
So when these players come back from injury, let's just say we get Jota and Diaz back. Sure, that'll help. But is that going to change the results? I don't know. That's what concerns me. I do think getting Van Dijk back will be huge.
Yes.
Because it's clear now more than ever. Doug, you mentioned it. Matip's legs. Who knows what's going on with him? He was a top 3 center back in the world last season, in my opinion. Top 5.
He was.
Definitely him and Van Dijk in the Premier League, I would say. Gomez, we've already kind of slandered Gomez, but the players that are going to come back from injury, I don't know if they're going to change a whole lot because they're attackers. Aside from Van Dijk, I think Van Dijk coming back will change things. When someone plays next to Van Dijk, and when Konate is fit, it's got to be Van Dijk and Konate.
Oh, of course.
100%.
It has to be. It used to be Van Dijk and Matip, and
in the league at least.
Oh, I didn't see my mom in here. Okay, Mom, you're in here too. Thanks, Mom. Matip and so yesterday Matip had some good attacking sequences there where he pushed the ball forward, went on his little adventures that we like to see and actually created chances. But defensively, no, not really there. Those are the two that should be playing though, right? Do you guys agree with me? When Gomez and Matip are healthy, Konate was out, and now Van Dijk's out. You got to play Matip and Gomez, no?
Yeah.
I mean,
some people say Nat should have started maybe, but Steve.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. We have Everton coming up, thankfully, I think in 8 days. So we have time to try to figure something out. That's going to be a scrappy match. That may be a match for Nat Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know him, he'll die out there. He's ready to die out there.
He's ready to die out there, dude. He will die for the club.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, and I wouldn't be mad. I'm open to that idea. And Phillips and Matip, I mean, there won't be any pace back there, but again, we got to do something. If we field the same lineup as yesterday and lose to Everton, that's just brutal. And didn't they just beat Arsenal?
They just beat
Yep.
Arsenal, dude. You would
Yep.
think with Wolves and Everton, two bottom table sides, this was, I said this in my match reaction, but it's so true. You'd think these are two matches to get your momentum back going into the Champions League, right? Some people in the chat were saying that the Champions League might be a way for us to turn this around, to gain some momentum. I thought these two matches were that. You go up against these two teams and you get your form back. You get 6 points. Okay, but now we lost to Wolves. Going into Everton, we really don't play that well against Everton recently. And when it's a rivalry, a derby, form goes out the window. Where you're at in the table goes out the window. It gets scrappy, like Steve said. And now with a new manager, and they just knocked off Arsenal, dude, it might be bad. Sorry to interrupt, Doug. Go ahead.
No, I'm just that goal for Everton yesterday was made in Burnley. It was a Dwight McNeil corner headed in by James Tarkowski. So a typical Sean Dyche goal. But Everton game, I'm not looking forward to. We don't have a good record against Sean Dyche teams.
No.
And it's going to be scrappy.
Yeah.
And people get banged up. People pick up knocks. There's cards. I'm not looking forward to it either.
They smother Allison on corners, dude. They just they put 4 men around Allison, and it's dangerous. And we know who was it that we were playing where we gave up like 4 goals from corners? Was it Brentford? Like it was 3 goals, but I don't know. Maybe
they hounded Allison that match. I know the match.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Was it Brentford?
I remember we conceded. Brentford had a goal ruled out for offside, and then about 30 seconds later, we give the ball away, Brentford go up the other end and score.
Yeah, and that's what's, I think personally for me, that's the most concerning part. How quick teams are scoring. We gave up the first goal in the 4th minute yesterday. Mm-hmm. And you just look at the players and they're just like, oh, here we go again. And it's sick, dude. It's sick. And so we've talked a little bit about the players. I want to look at a little bit here. Steve, you mentioned a little bit, you questioned it, but we have to talk about all of them. Let's talk about Klopp. Okay. Klopp this season has tried different formations with new personnel coming in. So I do have confidence in Klopp that if he does have a new full team, Steve, like you were talking about earlier, that maybe he would try something new. Where we haven't seen changes is the high line, is the tactics. He still wants to press a little bit. The players just aren't doing it for him, okay? And coaches coach, players play. How can you put blame on Klopp for this, Doug?
I think in a way you could potentially do. I think he has been stubborn a lot to sort of change it. But unfortunately, I think there's been sort of certain circumstances that, again, we haven't had the personnel to play what Klopp wants to play. But I mean, the thing is, you said it as well, Kyle, and I think Steve said it as well. Klopp isn't a part of the bus manager. The thing is as well, like, if you play a 4-3-3, you need the pressing. You need the midfielders to be pressing. Need to be pressing hard to play very, very well in that midfield. If you play 4-2-3-1, it can sort of invert to sort of a 4-4-2 potentially, as well. I've never seen Klopp play a back 3, but again, I don't think we've got the defenders at the moment to play a back 3. And even if we were, Robertson and Trent as wing backs, I mean, it could potentially work, but I just think it's just been a collective thing where we haven't had the personnel to play the 4-2-3-1. We've not had the personnel to play 4-3-3. So we're very easy to play against, I think is the safest thing to say as well. And we have to be brutally honest, we're probably the worst team in the Premier League right now. I saw we were 20th on the form table recently.
Oh God, yeah, easily. It's laughable.
I said that
It
yesterday.
is.
Said we're the worst team in the league yesterday.
Yeah.
Easiest to play
3-0 to
against.
Wolves. It's just mind blowing.
There's memes coming out of like the guy going like, it's like when teams see Liverpool coming up on the schedule. It's like, it was never like that. It's crazy. Steve, how much of this is Klopp?
I think more than a lot of people are saying. At
Really?
the end of the day, Kyle? Maybe you said it. Should he park the bus? Like,
well, it's just a thought. Like, because what he's doing is not working. Because of what Doug said, it's just something to think about.
well, I think that's a fair, I guess, point. Maybe something like that should come into play to an extent. Like, we're not going to park 10 men behind the ball like other clubs have done against us for the last 6 years. But playing a little bit more defensively may help. Take your foot off the gas a little bit, press a little bit less, because it's just not working. Try something new. We still have pace. We still have Nunez, still have Salah. You're going to get Diaz back. We still have pace for counterattacks. I'm not saying park the bus, but you can sit a little bit deeper. You can drop that high line back a little bit, and that could change things. Klopp still has good players. Even with all these injuries, there's still good players. There are teams and managers in the Premier League that would kill for the lineup that we put out yesterday.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
he does deserve some blame. And it doesn't look like he's trying very hard to change things or turn things around because he thinks things are going to fix themselves. He trusts his system. But like I mentioned yesterday or earlier, Alexi had mentioned, like, if we change our system, will that change things? Or if we get new players, will that change things? Like, I don't know, but something has to change. It doesn't look like anything's changing. But Cechic's coming in for Fabinho, that's a no-brainer. He had no choice but to do that. Fabinho's a liability. Fabinho's like playing with 10 men lately. So I don't give him any credit for putting Pacetic in because that is what should happen. But maybe like a Nat Phillips and a Calvin Ramsey insertion into the lineup could make some changes. We don't really know what Ramsey has. But I don't think he can get any worse at right back defensively right now. And I would take more solid defending and more effort in somebody at right back that cares over Trent right now. I love Trent. He's world class. Not lately, but he's world class. He's proved himself. But he didn't even look like he wanted to be out there yesterday.
And it comes down to that. It comes down to the effort, the urgency, the body language. We're not seeing it. There's no urgency defensively. There's no urgency in the midfield. Everyone's getting bypassed defensively. And when we do have chances on the attack, we're not converting. Salah had one very good, two really good chances yesterday. And he missed them both. Gakpo can't seem to get rolling. You know, he's not as prolific as Diaz over there on the left wing. And Darwin, 3 chances, man, and just he can't do it right now. He can't do it. I saw a video, and people were saying that Darwin Nunez is not better than like half of the Premier League strikers, and it's just not true. Darwin Nunez is good, but he's not clinical right now. He cannot finish right now. You need to put the ball either side of the keeper. You know, he's putting it right at the keeper, even though he's getting into those positions.
He's rushing it.
He gets
behind.
nervous. Yeah,
we're always behind. He gets an opportunity. He wants to just make it happen and score a goal. I think he needs to slow down a little bit. But when we're not creating and we don't have the ball, he just panics.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Werner. Remember when he came into the Premier League? He was like getting offside so many times. He kind of reminded me a little bit of like a sort of a Timo Werner. That I think he's a very, very hard worker and he will run his socks off, definitely. He might not get the goals that you obviously want, but he will always give you like hard work, and as I say, he'll run his socks off. But I think people are forgetting this is Darwin Núñez' 4th season in professional football, because he started out at Almeria to play there. Then he went to Benfica. Then, obviously, I guess his Liverpool move. He's only been in professional football 4 years. So he is raw, he is rash, and I think he will come good eventually. But I think he's came into a situation where I think people are sort of expecting him to get the big numbers. I even said in one of my shows, I think it was at the start of August when we brought him in, I said anything between 10 to 15 goals, all comps, I would be happy with that, because it's a marker, and then you aim towards the sort of the 15s and the 20s.
Yeah, which he already has, or almost has at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he's got. It looks like here he's got 15 matches in the Prem, 5 goals, 2 assists. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
No,
I'm
me
also
neither.
kind of pro Núñez. I think he's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet right now, based on where everybody else is in terms of form and the status of our club right now. I think Núñez, Doug, you mentioned it. He's a hard worker. That's what we need right now.
Yeah, 100%.
It looks like he can go all day. It looks like he can play 3 matches in a row and not even get winded. Yeah. And he does get in good positions. We just need a little bit more finishing. That will come.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. The offsides, that was a problem for a while. I think he's cleaned that up a little bit. So credit to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a must start.
He has to start
because he's at least getting shots off, and he's in the right positions for the most part, and he's dangerous. He just needs to be a little bit more clinical, and that's not even something you can work on in training. Somebody here in the chat said he needs a little bit of luck. I agree.
Yeah.
He just needs to get a little bit more confidence and a little bit of momentum, and he'll start slotting these chances home.
Right.
Like, no amount of training is going to help him become more clinical. He's got it. We've seen it.
Yeah.
He needs a little bit of luck, and he needs a little bit of motivation and confidence. But I'm pro Núñez right now. I have no problems with him.
I think we all are.
Especially based on how poor everybody's been.
Right. And the fact that we don't really have any options. We don't have any choice. Núñez has to start. Earlier in the season.
And of those 15 matches, he hasn't started all of them.
Right. Well,
so his return, his goal return, like, he's capable of a hat trick anytime. Like, we could blink and he could have 8 goals.
Same for Salah, dude.
Match.
Same for Salah. Salah's just bad right now. I don't know what's going on with
Salah. I didn't think Salah was terrible yesterday. I didn't think he got any help from the refs. I thought he needs a little bit of confidence and maybe a little bit of luck and be a little bit more clinical. But like those two, I don't have a major problem with Salah. I have a problem with the production. I have a problem with the lack of goals. But overall, like, everyone else is so bad that I think those guys are kind of safe where they're at. And a lot of people will disagree with me on the Salah piece, maybe even the Núñez piece. But I think they need to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And we don't have many options up front. And from the players who are playing, they're not bad players. They're good players. Lexi actually took the words right out of my mouth. We have to look at the midfield mostly. We talked about the defense earlier today. We talked a little bit about Fabinho and Bajcetic, but the midfield, the midfield that started yesterday was not on paper a bad midfield. You had Keita, Thiago, and Bajcetic, right? Bajcetic did what he was supposed to do. I thought Keita was like, he didn't do anything of value, but I did not think that Keita was that bad. Okay. The midfield as a whole was bad, but I didn't think Keita particularly was that bad. I don't think Thiago did anything special. He had 1 or 2 good balls, dude. And then Hendo came on. Hendo didn't do anything either. It's just the players that we're putting in the midfield right now aren't doing a damn thing.
Yeah, and you look at Thiago yesterday for the 3rd goal, he's literally he has no intention to track back. But again, Thiago's not a player that will definitely track back. But yesterday, that Neves was his man. You could quite clearly see it. As soon as Adama Traore got the ball, he's looking at Neves. He's looking at Neves, and by the time that Adama gets to the byline, cuts it back, it's too late. It's 3-0. But it's just the midfield. I've been saying this now. If Jude Bellingham is the number one target, if Jude Bellingham is the number one target, and I would imagine that he certainly is, we cannot go all summer pursuing him. If we get loads of bids rejected, then we cannot afford to go after him all summer. Have a backup option. Have a third backup option. Have a fourth backup option. We cannot go into the summer knowing, or by the time the August transfer window slams shut, that we literally have been going after one midfielder all summer, and we may get him, we may not, but we need a list of players to basically get if we don't get Bellingham. Don't make Bellingham the number one target. Have a backup option.
I agree with half of that. Yes, have the backup options, and maybe not even make them backup, make them additional options, okay? Because the way Liverpool did not pursue players in the January transfer window midfield-wise, I don't think you have an option. You have to get Bellingham, or you have to buy 3 or 4 other midfielders that are top-notch midfielders. You have to. You don't have any choice. Okay? If you get Bellingham and Bellingham alone, you get the player that you've been hyping up, that's great. But there's still problems in the midfield because Ox and Keita likely leaving. Okay? And Hendo, Milner, Thiago, they're all getting old. Okay? And you can't really rely on a Harvey, a Carvalho to do that aggressive midfield work. You need engine players, and Bellingham could be counted as an engine player in the midfield. You need more aggressive, quick, energetic players in the midfield. We might need three midfielders this summer, dude.
More.
You think?
Here's why. This is going to make perfect sense. Keita, Ox, see you later. Hendo's getting older. Fabinho, I think he'll stick around, but who knows what we have with him moving forward. Milner, maybe one more year, maybe, but I'm hearing that probably not. I'm hearing Ox, Keita, Phillips, Milner could all be gone in the summer. So let's just say those 3 leave. Milner, Ox, Keita, 3 midfielders. Then you have Carvalho. We don't know what the deal is with him. But I would imagine Klopp doesn't love what he can bring. So how much playing time is he going to get? We don't know what's going to happen with Curtis Jones. So now we're talking about 5 players, 3 that are definitely probably on the way out. And then we have Jones, Carvalho, Hendo, Fabinho. We don't know what they can produce moving forward. Hendo will still be here, but he's not going to give you 35 matches in a Premier League season anymore. So that's 6, 7 midfield question marks or potential exits. If you get Bellingham, that's great. I want him. But give him the number 8 shirt. That's a purchase for the future. He's going to become one of the best, if not the best midfielder in the Premier League down the line. He's not going to change this poor form we're in right now. He's not going to turn around the trajectory of the club. If we have 3 midfielders definitely leaving and 4 or 5 that we don't know what they can produce or how much they'll play or how fit they'll be or how much Klopp trusts them, that's 7 or 8 spots that could be available. So I think you need more than 3. I think you need to bring in 5. That's not going to happen, but that's what you need. If you want to solve things overnight in the summer, you have to get 5 midfielders.
I don't think Curtis Jones is good enough anymore. I've been saying it for a while. When he comes onto the pitch, and it was quite surprising he was one of the ones that didn't come on yesterday, which really surprised me. But when he comes onto the pitch, he offers nothing. Like I've never seen him make an attempt to like create an opportunity. Like, again, I don't think injuries have been kind to Curtis Jones, but for me, yes, he's another Scouser in the team, and it's fantastic to have Scousers in the team. But unfortunately, Curtis Jones, for me, I just don't think is good enough anymore to sort of be a Liverpool player. But I think the problem is we gave him a big contract as well. So already, if you want to sell him, he'll be going for between 20 to 30 million. So that's another thing to look at as well. The second thing is loaning Jones out could be a possibility next season, because I don't see where Curtis Jones fits into this Liverpool side next season. I honestly don't.
He has these flashes of this kid could be good. And when he was younger and he was making his appearances in the team, you're like, wow, this kid has a lot of potential. But he's not that kid anymore. Like, he's young, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure Curtis Jones is like 20, 21, like 20. I don't know if he's I don't think he's 22. I think he's still young, but
yeah,
he might be older than that. You're right. He doesn't really do much. He's kind of just there. 22, which it
just turned 22
22 years old. He's 22 years old, man. Okay. He needs to play football. So a loan, I think, might be the best option for him. He needs to go to a club where he's going to play.
I don't expect anything from Curtis Jones. Because again, like Doug said, I don't think he's good enough to like break into the first team on a regular basis. But he's a body. I'm not calling for him to get the axe like I am for Keita and Ox. I would imagine Jones isn't making a ton of money either.
Yeah.
So if he can be fit and go out on loan, great. If he's going to stay, or if you're going to sell him, great. If he's going to stay, play him in cup games. Put him in, give him 15 minutes every other week in the Prem. Who cares? I think he's the least of our worries.
I like
he's
what
not
Doug
costing
said.
A ton.
He's
got the English tax. He'll always be worth something. He's young.
Yeah.
He's the least of our worries. It's Curtis Jones, in my opinion.
I think what Doug said about him being a Scouser, I read something earlier this week that Klopp sees him as part of the team because of the homegrown aspect of it, because he has been injured a lot. And if Klopp was going to get rid of him, I feel like he would have gotten rid of him already.
We don't get rid of anybody.
Yeah.
We don't get rid of anyone. Anyone that makes it to the first team, I feel like they're here for a while.
Which honestly is a good thing, though. I mean, that is a good thing.
It is. But you think about guys like Brewster, Keanu Hoiver, they never broke into the first team. They got shipped off.
They got chances.
Reece Williams,
though. They got chances, though. Ryan Brewster. All right. Well, to be fair, the same things were said about Ryan Brewster that are being said about Curtis Jones. And I think it's good PR. I think it's good just team building. Like, you obviously don't want to make a player feel excluded or like he's not important to the team. You want to make every player in the senior squad feel like they're valuable, regardless if they're not. Okay? You want to make them feel valuable. And one, that makes the player feel good. And two, it puts the feelers out there to other teams that he is valuable. And so if you do sell him, you can get more money for him. Regardless, Curtis Jones is not the issue. He's not. He's just another player. Liz says he's on $30K a week. Who knows? Who knows
nothing.
what's gonna? It's nothing in the big scheme.
Loan him out, sure. If you got to call him back, call him back. You know, loan him out or keep him. It doesn't matter. But I think Ryan Brewster and Keanu Hoiver are different. They didn't get the chances that Curtis has gotten. I think Klopp knew a long time ago, or a long time before they reached that age where they're eligible or have the experience to break into the first team, that they weren't going to do anything. But once someone reaches that first team level, like Bajcetic, you can expect to see him for at least another 5 years. Curtis Jones, he's been around for years.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I do. Doug, do you have any takes on that?
Yeah, I think with Brewster and Keanu Hoiver, it was different. I think they were sort of, coming through the youth things. I mean, Keanu Hoover, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I think he was loaned to Stoke from Wolves. Again, he can't get into the Wolves setup. Brewster, I'm not sure what's happened to him. As well. But yeah, Curtis Jones has had more chances in this Liverpool team. When he was like that COVID season, that 2020-2021 season, he was bagging a few goals here and there. But when he comes onto the pitch, like when he starts, I don't get a sense of like something's going to happen with Curtis Jones, because the thing is for me as well with Curtis Jones, I think his last goal was Brentford away, if my memory serves me correctly. The
Are you talking about
3-3
that
draw.
screamer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's the last time he scored. That's crazy.
That's the last time he scored. So that was back in October 2022. Or yeah,
I honestly think you're right. I think you're right. That's probably his last goal.
Yeah, but I think a loan deal would do him the world of good. I mean, the thing is for me, if you get rid of Ox, if you get rid of Keita, I mean, Ox is probably on £125,000 a week. Naby Keita, I think, is on 90,000. There is £215,000 already off the wage bill, so that can be used for, other players, as well. I think it's going to be an interesting summer. I think there's going to be a few conversations to be had of what players we get rid of and what players we potentially need to move on.
I think all the points made are great points. I think the midfield is the place in the squad that needs the most attention. I think that Klopp, his tactics, the question needs to be asked, even if he has a completely new midfield, is he going to change it up? Is it strictly personnel? I'm still going to be in the boat that coaches coach, players play. Everybody is bad right now, player-wise. Nobody is playing well. And you can speculate why that is. We'll never know. I think there is a lack of energy, effort, identity, and just desire. Something has happened mentally in the squad. And personally, I just think that is the issue. A lot of people can point at investment. I think, yes, it would have made a difference if you brought in some midfielders in January to help reinforce the midfield. But as of right now, the fact is we're just not playing well. We're getting run over by teams, man. So that's the hill right now that I'm going to die on. I will go back to Steve for your closing thoughts, man.
Albert says, Doug, you're wrong. Naby's 120K, Ox is 165K. Yeah, I thought those might be a little bit low, but let's just call it 275 total. So even that increases your point even further.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of them, bring in Bellingham, boom. That's a clean swap.
I don't think Ox is on 165, but whatever.
No, but I think he's about 130, 140.
Well, that makes sense because that's
over
where
100.
Well, that's where Hendo and Milner are. So Ox being there, that makes sense.
They're all in that ballpark. It doesn't
165.
even matter. We're just nickel and diming here.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Doug, Ryan Brewster's still at Sheffield, as far as I know. He's got 6 starts all season.
Hey, we got that buyback option, boys. Let's get him.
1 goal in all comps, 17 appearances, only 6 starts. That was a great bit of business.
20
million, I think we got for him.
Buyback
23
clause?
million. Yeah.
Anyone want to buy back Ryan Brewster? No?
Okay. Jeez. That's the last. We do not need that.
No.
We do not need that. We don't need an underperforming attacker. You got enough.
Poor guy, man. Poor guy. I watched that first video of him where it was like the Sheffield United's YouTube channel where they welcomed Ryan Brewster and he's going around the complex. That dude is like, why the hell am I here? He hated it, guys. I think that was a blow to him going to Sheffield. I feel bad for the kid, but sorry. Steve, finish your thoughts.
Yeah, I think just to wrap things up, Doug, thanks again for joining us. This is great. It's always good to get your perspective. We hold it in high regard for sure. Definitely go check out Doug's channel.
Yes.
We are in shambles. We are in shambles. Top 4, probably very unlikely. Even Conference League, Europa League seems unlikely. Things have to change, and they're not going to change overnight. We can't even get draws. We're getting blown out by Wolves and Brighton. This is the lowest of the low in the last decade. Maybe not decade, last 7-8 years. This is the lowest of the low. So I'm not optimistic anymore. I'm just going to sit back and see what happens. And in the summer, we need to do a ton of business, or we're going to be even worse off because people are not getting any younger.
That's all you can do is just sit back and take it at this point. Doug, what about you? Closing thoughts?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope the next time I'm on is that we're actually meeting in better circumstances. But I just don't go into any game with any confidence anymore. And I just think we just basically sit back and hope to beat Everton. I mean, the next couple of fixtures are going to be very, very difficult anyway. Everton, I think it's Newcastle after that. I think Palace away on a Monday night. Again, that is not going to be easy. And then obviously got the Real Madrid games in between. Then it's Manchester United at Anfield. But no, thank you very much for having me. It has been a pleasure to join you both. I really have enjoyed it. Thank you.
No, absolutely, Doug. We're always happy to have you. Things get busy, but you're always welcome on. And guys, everyone in the chat, thank you. We had 60 plus people here in this stream. We appreciate your support. Seriously, we wouldn't be here without you guys. You guys are the reason we do it. So thank you very much. If you enjoyed the stream, like it. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, guys. And until next time, take care.